Well, that was the last thing you would expect me to do, huh? A history video. Well, you know, it's still bordering my channel's ideology that is making history videos or strategy games, so like whatever. Today we're gonna talk about history of Crimea and people that lived on it or are living on it. This video is going to be a quick overview telling a story that is a bit quick. I'm not gonna tell you in detail what the people are, what they did, who's the name of what people, leader and stuff. I'm just gonna tell you a quick overview who those people were, so calm down. With that out of the way, let's get to the video proper. As you probably know, Crimean Peninsula is located on the Black Sea. It's connected with the mainland by a Perekop Pass leading onto the Pontic Steppe or today's modern Ukraine. Or should I say Russia? But, well, you know how that thing works nowadays, so I'm not gonna get involved with the modern politics. On the eastern side, Kerch Strait is blocking Crimea from joining with the mainland. The placement and climate of Crimea had a big impact on people that were living on it, as well you probably can imagine. From the north, Crimea was a steppe arid land which acted as a highway for migratory peoples that were pushing into Europe or, well, into the peninsula itself. First people that were living on the Crimean steppe and its surrounding areas were nomadic Sumerians. There were people of Iranian or Thracian roots, and there definitely were a nomadic people. Rising mountains on the southern side of Crimea made an entirely different climate from what we have on the northern side of it. Instead of a steppe, we have a Mediterranean climate best suited for agriculture. Those territories were settled by tribes called Tauri. In 7th century BCE, Sumerians were pushed out by another nomadic tribe, Scythians, them also being part of the Iranian descent. The vast territories that Scythians were present on are stretching from the Black Sea to the Carpathian Mountains. Their only weakness being that they weren't united into a one big nation or a country or a state or a tribal confederation. At nearly same time, Greek city-states started colonizing the area of Crimea. Greeks quickly established themselves on the peninsula, pushing Tauri out of the plains and farmlands into the highlands and mountains. After being pushed out by the Greeks, Tauri reinvented themselves into pirates and bandits. In the year 480 BCE, Greek cities and colonies decided to form up a confederation or a kingdom to better fight against Tauri and the Scythians. They started to title themselves as Kings of Bosporus. Meanwhile, the powerful Scythians, weakened by internal turmoil, warring with Greek city-states and each other, were getting destroyed by a confederation called Sarmatians. By the year 200 BCE, they were completely pushed out by the Sarmatians or assimilated by them into their own tribes. After many years of strife between Greeks and Tauri, they had finally fallen to the kingdom of Bosporus around the same time. Bosporus tried to even take the entire Crimean peninsula, but they failed miserably because they were fighting nomads who just run away from the fight, and when you try to sit down for 5 minutes, after running after them for like 2 months, they attack you and kill your armies. So the strife was pretty pointless for them. They called their friend called Pontus, which didn't do anything for free, and made them their tributary. In the year 109 BCE, the local Bosporan dynasty had faded out and Kingdom of Pontus took over the country for themselves. Kingdom of Pontus was at war with the new rising power from the west, Roman Empire. In the year 63 BCE, they took over Pontus and made it its tributary or took its land directly. Thus, Crimea became a new province of the Roman Empire. For the next 2 centuries, peace and prosperity settled in the Crimean lands, but in the year 250, Roman legions had to leave the area because of the weakening of the empire. Some time after, Ostrogoths invaded into Ukraine and Crimea, settling down and taking few Bosporan cities. The Gothic kingdom wouldn't last long, as in the year 375 Huns invaded into Europe and Crimea itself, destroying many settlements and killing a lot of people. They conquered Ostrogoths and the Bosporan kingdom. In the year 453, the greatest Hunnic leader Attila died, leaving a vacuum and creating a civil war that shattered the Hunnic empire apart, thus making Ostrogoths free again and in control of of Crimea. In the year 528 AD, Byzantines landed on a part of Old Bosporus and reclaimed it for themselves, leaving splintered kingdom of Goths in the north. In the next 100 years, Crimea would see the influx of Turkic peoples such as Avars and Bulgars, but only the latter would try to take Crimea for themselves. Bulgars would consolidate power until in 750 when Khanate invaded, and Bulgars were forced to migrate into the Thracia and Roman territory, or Byzantine territory. Khazars didn't only take the Bulgar lands, that is Gothic lands, they also took few cities and provinces of Byzantium, leaving them only in Chersonesus. The nomadic confederation was very tolerant towards other cultures and religions, and thus could control the land for a very long time. Those Turkic nomads also practiced Judaism, pretty spicy religion for the marauders in the steppe, but this religion probably was only used and practiced by the top class in the Khazar Khaganate. In the coming centuries, Khazars and Byzantine Empire would share the land between themselves, but only one of them was here to remain. Khazar Khaganate weakened by the influx of Pechenegs and struggles between the clans in the Khaganate in the year 965. They finally been defeated by a Norman Slavic prince, Sviatoslav, who utterly destroyed the nomads and took some of their lands as his own. He decided to build a base in Crimea, and to be more precise, he built it at the Kerch Strait. In the year 989, the son of Sviatoslav, Vladimir the Great, took a small Byzantine city in the Crimea. The siege of the city would later lead to the conversion of the Rus to Orthodox Christianity. In the year 1036, Yaroslav the Wise would shatter the Pechenegs, sending them deeper westwards. The vacuum would be filled by the incoming Cuman nomads on the steppe. For the entire 11th and 12th century on the Crimean steppe, people who still dominated were Cumans and Byzantines. But in the beginning of the 13th century in 1204, the Crusaders pillaged Constantinople and shattered the Byzantine Empire. Now, instead of Byzantines, the Trapezoid owned the Crimean lands. Status quo was broken in 1238 by the invasion of the Mongols. Cumans were quickly destroyed. Some of them ran to the Hungary, some of them stayed in their own lands and became subjects of the Khan. Meanwhile, the Genoese Republic bought of a small town and a castle called Kaffa of the Mongols. After some time and Mongol invasions finished, the Kaffa became a huge trade center in the Crimea and surrounding area. The main thing that was traded in Kaffa wasn't sugar, silk, feather, or whatever you can imagine. It was slaves from Hungary, Rus, and Poland. Yes, Christian Europe was buying their own Christians as slaves. Pretty funny. In the year 1313, Khan of Golden Horde became Muslim, thus converting all of the smaller tribes and people on the steppe into Islam. In 1364, new state appeared on the map of Crimea. It was called Fyodoro, and it just got independence from Principality of Trebizond. The population of the Fyodoro was made up of Goths, Greeks, Armenians, Pechenegs, Cumans, anyone you can imagine. Meanwhile, Italian merchants went into the conflict with the Golden Horde. The Khan of the Golden Horde tried to siege Kaffa twice, and failing twice. He decided to send them a present instead of Mongolian warriors mounting on top of the walls. He sent them dead bodies infected with the plague that were later sent by the Genoese soldiers that were manning the walls, thus starting the Black Plague in Europe. At the end of 14th century, Temur the Lame invaded Crimea and destroyed major cities of the Tatars as an retaliation. In the later years, Golden Horde started losing against the Poland, Lithuania, and Vladimir Suzdal, losing territory and, what's most important, its own subject. Turmoil in Golden Horde allowed Hajj Giray to break off with Crimean Khanate free of the suzerainty of, well, Golden Horde. Also, Genoese got a bit gritty, invaded Trebizond, took their lands, and also invaded a bit of Fyodoro. The newly independent Crimean Khanate laborated between Ottomans and whoever they could, but after some time they ended in an orbit of rising Ottoman Ottoman Empire, which in 1475 landed on Crimean Peninsula, crashing quickly Genoese colonies and Fiodoro. Alright, that was the entire video. Maybe share this video because it took fucking hours to make for some reason. It's literally just stickmen just on the map, but it took hours for some reason. So yeah, that was it. See ya in the shortest amount of time, I hope. Have a nice one.